Hello, this will be our group's presentation on the APHG topic, urbanization. Let's start with the definitions, important APHG terms that will help us understand urbanization. Let's first learn the definition of urbanization. Urbanization is the process by which people live and are employed in a city. An example of urbanization is cities grow as more people move to the cities for job opportunities. The next topic we need to know will be site and situation. Site refers to the internal physical attributes of a place, including its absolute location, its spatial character, and cultural characteristics and physical setting, i.e., soil, vegetation, water sources, climate, etc. And an example of this could be San Diego having sandy beaches, Spanish influenced architecture, and Mediterranean climate, etc. This can be telling of the advantages and disadvantages a location has based off its physical attributes. And the next is situation, which is the location of a place relative to other places and human activities.
Site and situation are important because this can affect the rate at which urbanization takes place.
One very important term is push and pull factors. A push factor is the reason why a person chooses to leave a country. And some examples can be like civil war causing the family to leave their homeland. And a pull factor is like a reason that someone wants to relocate to a certain place. And an example of this is many immigrants come to the United States for economic opportunities like jobs and stuff like that. This can be telling of traits that a city might have that would make people want to live there. Another important term that we need to know before going into the cities is internal migration is the permanent movement within a particular country. Example, mass migration of African Americans from the south to the northeast for jobs in manufacturing, and international migration, which is the permanent movement from one country to another. These are just some important factors that have a role in urbanization, like having a lot of economic opportunities, making people want to come to your city. Same with a good economy, having a lot of jobs. For my portion of the video, I will be talking about three important examples of urbanization. The three will be Manchester, New York, and Los Angeles. And I will be talking about how these can be great examples of urbanization and what helps and doesn't help urbanization. Starting off, Manchester is located in the northwest of England. It is roughly 160 miles northwest of London and is close to other major cities such as Liverpool and Birmingham. Several rivers flow through the city, including the River Mersey, which connects Manchester and Liverpool. The water power helped transport materials and help the textile industry growth, which increased the number of job opportunities, which pulled more people in. As we can see in the first image, its situation is pretty good, and it's next to a bunch of different cities that could bring in some people. And in the bottom image, we can see the ship canals and waterways that is important to the industrial side of things. But more importantly, in this image showing the map, we can see River Irwell, and you can see that Manchester's location is along the river, which gives it some benefits like industrial growth, trade and transportation, water supply, and urban development. A big portion of urbanization is new job opportunities, and during the Industrial Revolution, Manchester was one of the biggest cities producing cotton and even got the nickname Cottonopolis. In the early 19th century, the rapid growth of Manchester's cotton industry drove the town's expansion, putting it at the heart of new global networks of manufacturing and trade. The Industrial Revolution played a big part in the urbanization of the city because of all the job opportunities bring people to work. Manchester is a great example of how job opportunities are a big factor that contributes to urbanization.
The population of New York has grown greatly. The city grew about 1%, gaining 80,000 residents between 2023 and 2024, largely because of a steady increase in newcomers from other countries, while at the same time, fewer residents left for elsewhere, according to the census data. The population in New York has grown greatly. One of the major reasons of this has been economic growth. A major factor in population growth has been the city's economic growth, with over 4.8 million jobs today, attracting people from across the country and the world to invest in and work in New York. A recent report found that the city leads the nation in attracting young talent with 500,000 recent college graduates choosing to live in the five boroughs since 2021. The city's economic growth, with abundance of jobs available, has made it more attractive for people looking to move there. A study done on immigrants living in New York showed about 4.52 million immigrants in New York in 2023. This translates to approximately 23.1% of the population, or roughly 2 in 9 residents in New York. This shows the pull that has on foreigners.
New York is located at the northeast coast of the Hudson River. New York is also a central hub for travel. With canals, railroads, and highways, New York is a principal gateway to the west from the Middle Atlantic and New England states, and is a hub for travel to from much of the country. The Los Angeles metro area's biggest advantage is the variety of options people have when they move here. Los Angeles County is one of the most dynamic economies in the world, with a fast-growing and immense high-tech industry, world-leading creative economy, tremendous strength in aerospace and advanced transportation, the nation's largest manufacturing base, the nation's largest international trade industry, and a yearly increase in the amount of venture capital investments in startups. The cities we went over showed a clear pattern of pull factors causing urbanization or positively affecting the rate at which urbanization takes place. Cities grow when there are job opportunities and other pull factors like site and situation, and like being in an optimal location. Other pull factors like site and situation, like being in an optimal location.
An increase in human population is one of the causes of urbanization. The amount of people living in cities without properly sanitized water can increase as an effect of a rapidly growing population. Slums or informal settlements have been seen in many cities around the world. People living in these areas can face overcrowding, poor housing, and unsanitary living conditions. Another effect that urbanization can have on a city is modernization. Modernization is the process of a city becoming more modern and industrial over time. This image shows an example of a city influenced by the effects of modernization. The landscape of the city has changed over time. When a city has better services than another, people are more likely to want to commute to that city or even move there. Better opportunities can pull people towards cities. Rapid urbanization can affect resources like having insufficient housing, transportation, and sanitization. This can negatively impact people's quality of life. The image shows traffic congestion as a result of an increased population. The image shows a diagram of the urban heat island effect, which is the heat that cities generate as a result of having many buildings and few trees or other vegetation. Skyscrapers can trap heat and pollution in a city, leading to higher temperatures in urban centers. A city facing the urban heat island effect can become up to 7 degrees hotter at the center during the day. This difference in temperature can impact a city's air quality and energy consumption. When properly planned out, urbanization can cause the expansion of job and employment opportunities. Education facilities improve as well as medical and healthcare requirements improving. These facilities become better quality and the living standards can improve, leading to an increase in the Human Development Index. The increase in population increases the potential for a better market. The city could build a mall to accommodate people's needs for clothing, stores, food, and entertainment, bringing in more money to the city.
As countries around the world face urbanization, people can look at the patterns of urbanization to help make sense of everything. As these cities expand, we look at their patterns and create models to try to make sense of the city. But to create these models, we have to be able to distinguish the different patterns of urbanization in developing and developed countries. Now let's take a look at urbanization patterns in developing countries. In developing countries, we often see rapid urban growth happening. This is caused by people moving out of the farmland and into the cities. Because of that, informal settlements begin to pop up. Some examples would be the favelas in Brazil, which are created when we have more people moving into urban areas but not enough homes that are affordable and close to the city that are being built. So people will create these informal settlements to benefit them. On the other hand, in developed countries, these urbanization patterns can be suburbanization. This occurs when people move to the suburbs. A suburb is a community or town near a bigger city. People will choose to move to the suburbs because pull factors like lower costs and the idea of being able to buy a home are put into place. High-rise construction is another pattern that shows up in developed countries. These are buildings that are built vertically so they take up little land space but instead space above. They can fit more people, which is good when you have limited ground space in an urbanized location. One example would be a big skyscraper in a city. Mixed-use buildings pop up in developed countries. This is when one building is used for multiple reasons, like a pizza shop on the bottom but apartments on top. This slide here shows some images of what we were discussing earlier. The photo on the right is one whole building, but it is broken up into different parts used for multiple reasons. The retail on the bottom with the office and apartments up above. On the left-hand side, if we look far enough, we can see tall vertical buildings. These are high-rise buildings we were discussing earlier. Now that we have an idea about the urban distribution patterns in different countries, we can use models to help show these patterns of urbanization. There are multiple models we can use to show the patterns of urbanization, like the Latin and African city models. However, the main models we will be focusing on are the sector concentric zone model and the multiple nuclei model. The concentric zone model, or the Burgess model named after the developer Ernest Burgess, shows urban land use in a circle that gets bigger and bigger as you move away from the CBD. The model is based on Chicago's urban patterns in the early 20th century. Burgess theorized that wealthier residents tend to move away from the CBD to avoid it. This is shown through the classification of certain individuals with different economic status being shown as rings in the circle. On this slide is a concentric zone model we were talking about. You can observe how the model is broken up into different rings, and in the center is the CBD. As we move away from the CBD, we start to see more residential areas and working areas appear. The second model we will be focusing on is the sector model, or the Hoyt model developed by Homer Hoyt. This model emphasizes the pattern that cities grow in wedges, not rings, outside the CBD. The main theory of the model is that transportation routes will influence the urbanization patterns of a city. Because of these transportation patterns, people who make more income will live further away from the CBD because they can afford transportation like cars, while people who make less income will live closer to the CBD to take advantage of the public transportation.